Gwaltney Group-RE results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning, Andy Brownell, News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. How are you?
I am pretty good.
Good.
So you're traveling all over the place.
I tell you.
So you were in California earlier in the week.
Yeah, last week I had to go for just a really quick meeting. It's called the RE/MAX Elite Retreat, and it's a meeting that RE/MAX puts on for the top 1% of the agents worldwide.
Wow.
So it's an amazing meeting. I mean, really awesome because, you sit and we have roundtable discussions with the best in the business, and so there's always nuggets to bring back, and I like to feel like there's always things that I can share as well. So it's real fast. I mean, it was literally, I was in California for 72 hours. But it was very action packed, and I had made a post on Facebook about it being an action packed 3 days at the Elite Retreat, and somebody said, "Isn't that a bit of an oxymoron to call it a retreat when you've been action packed?" I'm like, well, I guess you got a good point there. But anyway, Nick Bailey, who is of course the CEO of RE/MAX International, hosts the meeting, which is very cool because we get a lot of up close and personal time with him. And of course, he's one of the most experienced about the business, in the whole entire industry. He's often the face of the real estate news on, the major networks on
Sure.
TV and stuff. So he had some pretty interesting stats to share. And one that I just cannot get over is he talked about how many actual realtors there are in the country. Okay, now just think about these numbers: 1,600,000 licensed realtors.
Wow, 1.6 million.
1.6 million. Now, of those 1.6 million, 91%, which is about 1,456,000, have never sold real estate when the interest rates have been above 4% or when homes have been on the market for more than 45 days.
Wow.
91% of them.
So they're all newbies.
Well, and the market, has been different for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever. Yeah. So this is the thing. We wonder why people are in such a panic. Well, you have to look to the industry experts to get the information you're looking for. And if the industry experts, the licensed realtors haven't experienced it, well, it's not going to be that comforting for the buyers and the sellers. So it makes a whole lot of sense that if buyers and sellers are asking for information from people who've not experienced it, why they're in a bit of a panic.
Sure.
Does that make sense to you?
Oh, it does, absolutely.
So I thought, okay, this is a real wake-up call for me, and I need to go home and I need to make sure that all of the agents who are on our team, part of the Gwaltney Group, who are in that 91% of agents who've never sold real estate when interest rates are above 4% or houses are on the market for more than 45 days, are well versed, because maybe they haven't lived through those market conditions, but I have. So it's my responsibility to share my knowledge and to educate them so that we can in turn turn around and every single person on the team be able to confidently educate the buyers and sellers and set them up with expectations that are realistic.
Right. So how do you share that knowledge with the less experienced realtor?
Okay, so first of all, when people say, what am I supposed to say when somebody calls me and says, I can't buy a house right now because house values are dropping and I don't think it's a good investment anymore? Okay, well, the first thing is house values are most definitely not dropping. Nowhere in the United States has the value of real estate decreased. It is continuing to increase. Now it's increasing at a much slower pace than it had been the last few years. We've talked about this and talked about this. But the reason prices are dropping, that's different than values dropping. Prices are dropping because homes were overpriced. Well, if 91% of the realtors have never sold real estate in these current market conditions, it makes sense that properties are overpriced. So the prices are overpriced because the only knowledge that the people pricing the properties have, and I'm not just saying this is for new agents or the ones that haven't lived through it, it shifted so quickly that the comps out there, the comps even for the appraisers, the comps, we go back a certain set amount of time, 6 months. Well, if things shift really fast in 6 months, those comps are really not that applicable, right? Yep. So if those comps are showing prices that sold at 30% above value or 25% above value because that's what was happening, and now things are selling at value, well, those comps are useless because they're 25 to 30% high. So anyway, I've taught them all and will continue to preach about the fact that values are continuing to go up, and probably, most of the forecasts are that they'll go up approximately 5% in our market year over year from this year to next year.
Which is a healthy gain.
It's a healthy gain, yes. And there's markets like Scottsdale, Arizona, for instance, where last year it was 35% year over year, and now because values are only going to maybe go up 8% this year, they feel like the bottom has fallen out of real estate. So it's about educating that values are still going up. Real estate is still a really good investment. Well, of course, the other big red flag is the interest rates. These interest rates, no one's ever paid 6.5% for interest. Well, yeah,
except
they have.
For me.
Yeah, they have, and me, and a whole lot of other people. But, the other thing that I know is so important is to educate agents and buyers about all of the other loan products that are out there. I know there's this saying that I keep hearing over and over in real estate, and it's marry the house, date the rate.
Sure.
Okay? So you find the house you like, buy it. You don't like the rate so much, when a better one comes along, ditch that one and get the new one. Or use this adjustable rate mortgage for now so that until the conventional rate comes down, you can take advantage of this one, and when that conventional rate comes down, ditch the ARM and lock into a conventional rate. So as long as we're prepared to educate buyers and make them understand that it's still a very smart decision, smart investment to buy real estate, because prices are not going to go down. The bottom is not going to fall out. There's not even going to be this plethora of foreclosures because, as we've talked for the last several months, there's so much equity. People have so much equity in their homes because of those many years, 5-6 years in a row of pretty drastic increase in value. So the people who can't keep up with their payments anymore because of inflation and everything else has gotten so high, and guess what they have to do? They may have to sell, and then they're not going to lose it, because back in 2008, 9, and 10, when people were losing houses right and left, it's because values had dropped. And then if people wanted to sell their house, guess what? They had to bring money to the table to actually get the deal to close. Well, nobody had the cash, or if they did have the cash, it's the last thing they wanted to do. So they walked away, and that was what caused the big disaster.
And there was an oversupply at that point.
A huge oversupply.
And now we have the exact opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. We still are 4 million homes short across the nation to meet our needs, okay?
Think about that number. Yeah.
Huge shortage. Think about that number.
It'd take a while to get caught up, especially in the current conditions. We already have to take our break. Goodness. So lots to talk about with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE Max results when we return on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE Max results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We are back. Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE Max results on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. So we've talked about the national picture after your conference in California. How does that relate to what's happening closer to home?
Okay. I can tell you from speaking with a lot of my colleagues that our market is still a lot healthier than some of the markets. And again, I mentioned Scottsdale earlier. They had seen such crazy price increases. When we were looking at 15% year over year, they were looking at 30 or 35% year over year. So, the bigger you are, the harder you fall, or whatever they say, right? So it hit them harder. But I'm happy about that because I've mentioned before that eventually I want to own a house in Scottsdale. And when I was looking, when the prices were skyrocketing like that, I was like, yeah, no, I'll wait. No big hurry. But okay, let's talk about our Rochester real estate market. We did just do our monthly Rochester market report this past week, so I can share some of those numbers. Currently, there are 138 sales pending.
Okay.
Leaving 300 listings still for sale. So we've got some inventory. The resulting pending ratio is 31.5%. We get that number, of course, by taking that 138 divided by the total of 438. So what exactly does that mean? That pending ratio indicates that the supply and the demand of the market. So specifically, a high ratio means that listings are in demand and quickly going to contract. And then a low ratio means we have more supply than we have buyers shopping right now. Okay? So right now we have what we would call a mildly active inventory. And I think the reason being is because the people are on the fence about, geez, do I buy with the rates this high? And that's where what I was talking about earlier becomes such an important piece. Like, they have to understand, because I had made a remark on Facebook about, I just thought it was crazy when they talked about 91% of the realtors never doing business in these current market conditions. And then one of my lender friends said it's the same with lenders. A lot of the mortgage brokers are also haven't been around that long. And also, a lot of people jumped in when the going was good, right? And so they haven't had the experience either. So I think right now, more than ever before, when you're thinking about getting pre-approved, make sure you are getting a name recommended, either through your realtor, through me, through a banker you trust. Maybe the bank that you bank at has somebody that's really good at mortgages, but somebody that has experience and understands all the different products, because that can make or break whether or not somebody moves forward with purchasing a house right now.
And you pointed out before that not all lenders have access to all the programs.
Correct. They don't all have the same product. That's exactly right. So, all right, back to this report. A total of 1,207 contracts have closed in the last 6 months, with a median sold price of $324,000.
All right.
Okay, and per usual, if we break it down, that 200 to 300K price contains the highest number of the sold listings. Okay. Alternatively, a total of 92 listings have failed to sell in that same period of time. Okay, so a lot of times people are like, wait, why are 92 listings not selling? There's a lot of reasons. Maybe they're priced too high and the seller is just not going to budge because they know what their brother sold his house for last year, and doggone it, they're going to sell theirs for the same. And you know what I always say, you can want what you want, but you're going to get what you're going to get. And
they're not a motivated seller.
Yeah, there you go. And then another, sometimes they're just inadequately marketed. They're just, people aren't doing great pictures, or they haven't staged. I heard a little saying last week at my conference, and I loved it. This agent said, I'm going into my listings right now and I'm telling people, okay, the market has changed. Now there's two things you got to focus on. A, you've got to win the beauty contest, and B, you've got to win the price war. And it's so true. How many months did I say, it doesn't matter if you even do the dishes, your house is going to sell for, $20,000 over. But we're back to that market where really, people, you got to make it look good, and it's got to look good for the pictures. And that Gwaltney Group does a lot of virtual staging. We don't put pictures of empty houses, and it takes time and it costs money, but it's called, premier marketing. It's really important right now. So you want to make sure that your home is marketed properly. And if your house is in poor condition, guess what? There are other options now. So if you have, that nasty water stain that's been on your ceiling for years and it's been dried up and we just got used to it, there's no water there, sorry, you're going to have to get that painted now. People don't want to come into your home and look at your old water stain or whatever it is, the big stain in the carpet that you just got used to. No, it's probably time to change out the carpet if you're going to put your house on the market. So remember, focus on winning the beauty contest.
But going back, it hasn't been, that's what amazes me when you said that 91% of realtors haven't dealt with these conditions. You and I have been talking long enough that when we first started doing this program, these were the things that you had to do when you were selling your house.
Yeah, well, and I'm mostly talking about the interest rate. 4% or less. This is what 91%, 4% or higher, 91% of the realtors haven't dealt with that. And that's a huge factor. That's why we have inventory sitting, even though we have approved buyers. They're just anxious and nervous about whether they move forward. And if you are going to the clinic and you want to, you have to make a big medical decision, you probably don't want to get the information from the friendly gal at the front desk. You probably want to have some guidance from that experienced physician who's helped people make that decision before.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, people need to have someone that they can trust to help them make these decisions and know that, yes, they are definitely still making a good decision when purchasing a house. So, all right. We also noticed that 200 to 300 price range has a relatively large inventory right now. We have 90 listings available, and the median list price for all properties right now in the market is $399,900. But now keep in mind, I just got done saying that the median closed price was a lot less than that. What was it?
$320 something.
348. I don't know. I have to look back here. Anyway, my point is, keep in mind this median price is listing price. So homes are, people are getting some money off in some of the deals if things are a little overpriced or if there's some work to be done. If they're priced right, I just helped a gal buy a house last week, and we had to pay full price, and it was an expensive house. It was over $800,000, but we weren't the only offer, and the house looked fabulous. They had it ready to sell, and they had it priced properly. So it doesn't mean that no matter what you price your house at, whether it's priced right or wrong, people are going to be able to come in and offer you less, because that is not the case.
It is what the market bears. It's if your house is the house that people want, And
if it's priced right, it's still going to sell for that price. So it's just that if it's overpriced or the condition isn't really good, then they're going to go next door or a couple blocks over and buy the one that is.
Back to the way it always was.
Right. All right. So I can see that days on market has definitely increased. Right now, the days on market, the median time has been 38 days. Okay?
Okay.
So the sold properties in the last 6 months revealed a median sold price of $324 and 7 days on the market.
Yeah.
So when people are going from having to wait a week to having to wait over a month, they start to panic. And then if they're working with an agent who doesn't know how to guide them through that, the panic becomes amplified. And then, of course, it starts to spread like wildfire, and people are going back to their break rooms at work and saying, oh my God, this market is a mess. You can't buy a house now. It's a terrible time. And it's because people don't have their facts straight. So all I can say is if you are in the market, please do not get discouraged, and please make sure to line yourself up with a very experienced mortgage broker and a very experienced agent, people who will know how to navigate you through this, and you will be very happy that you did, I promise.
And as crazy as this sounds, I think I would rather be in this market buying a home than what we were a year ago.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Insane.
It's so much less stressful for buyers if they can understand. I mean, I had to explain, and I mean, my son-in-law is a really smart guy, and he is a financial analyst, so he understands numbers. And he got locked in. They recently purchased a house, and they got locked in at 4.25%. Because guess what? Yeah, because guess what? We did a 7-year ARM. Because guess why? 4.25% instead of 6%. That's a big difference. He was really nervous. He's like, but in 7 years, I said, but guess what? Within these next 7 years, we're going to refinance it. You're going to refinance when that rate comes down to where you can lock in right around that 4%. Who knows, maybe even a little less.
Yep.
And he's just like, are you sure? I said, trust me. Trust me. I got
I've seen
you.
this before.
Yes, this is not my first rodeo. So anyway.
All right. We do need to take a break.
Okay,
Again.
that's fine.
All right. So we're chatting again with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results, and we will be back in just a moment on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose?
Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results, of course, on this Saturday morning. We're reviewing the local market report.
So, I told you earlier that the median days on market right now is 38 days, but I will tell you that if you start looking at higher priced properties, those numbers definitely go up.
Sure.
We've got some price points where if you look at anything basically from 600 and above, our average days on market is closer to 57. So we're looking at sitting on the market for almost 2 months. How long has it been since you've heard me say that?
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah. So, but guess what? A couple months to plan a move, it's not that bad. I mean, I can remember when houses would sit on the market for 6 months and even more. And now that was stressful. That was really stressful. But it was what it was, and we got through it. And that's my whole point, is that this too shall pass. It is what it is, and we have to make the most of it.
I can remember when you were relating to me that the average time on market had dropped to less than 30 days, and both of us were like, that's astounding. I can't believe that.
Exactly. And then it was less than 30 minutes before it started to go the other direction, right? Oh, boy. So what I will say to that is, and this is what I've been training my team on, is what frustrates people the most, not just in real estate transactions, but I think with any big life decision, the most stressful factor is the unknown, okay? The unknown. So this is where we really need to focus on making sure we're communicating with our clients, whether they're the buyers or the sellers, and we're really setting up clear expectations so they know how this is going to go, so they don't think that just because what happened last year to their friend or their sibling is what's going to happen to them. We have to be able to explain to them, no, listen, in your price range, the average days on market right now is 57 days. So I don't want you to get panicked or discouraged a couple weeks down the road when your house hasn't sold. So what I do is I tell people at the time I'm listing their house, what frustrates people the most, I mean, survey after survey shows that what's the most frustrating part of a relationship with their realtor between clients and realtors is the lack of communication. So I always tell people I am going to call you once a week, whether I have anything to say or not, just to do what I call a weekly check-in. Okay, so I'm just going to call to say, hey, it's been X number of days on the market. Anything I can say that's pertinent to the conversation. 2 more houses have come on the market in your street, or the other house that was up the block from you sold. This is what they were asking. This is what they got. Just whatever information I can give them to keep them really in tune to what's going on around them and where we're sitting with their house, because it helps. I've already set them up with the expectation at the beginning that this isn't going to be as fast as it was before. I mean, and plan accordingly. Expect your house to be on the market approximately a month, or approximately 45 days, or based on the price, it might be 2 months. So let's plan accordingly, and this is what you can expect. But each week, let's pick a day and a time that's good for you, and I'm going to call and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about where we're at, and if we don't have enough, nothing has changed, we're just going to say nothing has changed. But I just like to keep people in the loop and part of the process, because I want to keep them from becoming frustrated.
Right, that feeling that you're flying blind.
Flying blind, yes, exactly.
Excellent.
So I guess, we've been doing a lot of open houses, and we are getting people attending open houses. Things like online leads, people calling into Zillow or calling into these places. We're seeing a downturn in those kind of calls, because I think we're back to where the market conditions are changing enough that people are looking for advice from other people to help them get through a successful transaction. So they're asking for personal recommendations rather than just picking any name off of, a sign or a website or whatever. So I feel like as long as you're prepared for the trip, you're going to have a successful one, And I've compared it many times to climbing a mountain. Just make sure you have the right guide and the right amount of water and the right instructions, and you'll get through this real estate market. And it can still, believe it or not, it can still be a very enjoyable process.
There you go. So if you want Robin to be your guide, or talk to Robin about being the guide, how does someone get a hold of you, Robin?
Absolutely. You can call me on my cell phone anytime, and that cell phone number is 507-259-4926. If you want to learn more about the Gwaltney Group, feel free to visit our website at gwaltneygroup.com. Excellent.
We will talk again next week. Thanks so much, Robin.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results here on Newstalk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9.
This is